Here's a special occasion triple feature 30th anniversary Disney review of a Goofy movie, Pocahontas, and Toy Story 1. In a pre-Marvel and Star Wars Disney world, most years in Disney history only have one significant film that stands the test of time. Well, 1995 had three of them. This was a passion project review of mine, as all of these films turn 30 years old this year like I do, and if all goes according to plan, this review will be uploaded on June 30th, my birthday. 30 on the 30th. Pretty cool. 30 is the first birthday where I have that getting kinda old feeling. And as a mega Disney fan, I thought I'd celebrate with a special review. I did a triple feature marathon of all three of these movies to properly set the mood, watching all of them in the release order they came out. What's cool about this marathon and review in general is that these three films are all radically different from one another, as they all fall into different categories of Disney animation. A Goofy movie was a Disney Toon Studios produced cinematic spin-off of the Goof Troop TV show. Pocahontas was the 33rd film in the Disney animated canon, and released squarely in the middle of the Disney Renaissance. And Toy Story, the first film, was not only the first Pixar film ever, but the first computer-generated animated film ever produced. Total mic drop moment. I'll start off first with the first of these films released, and that is A Goofy Movie, which debuted April 7, 1995. I'm sure when this movie was released, Disney was just looking to put out a Goofy-centered film for and giggles just to fill up time on the release schedule. Not knowing, though, the cultural significance this film would have 30 years later. We're talking songs that are revered 30 years later, continued cosplays that happen, and popcorn buckets at Disneyland, which I was lucky enough to get one for free. This movie has Goofy taking Max on a road trip vacation, which he believes is for some much needed father-son bonding time. Little does Goofy know he's completely f***ed up Max's dream date with Roxanne, the girl of his dreams. Literally. It's the expected odd parent and child duo story. In the case, it's amplified when you have a typical teenager trying to be cool, and your dad is goofy. Literally. But what works about the story is that you completely understand where both characters are coming from. Max is just looking to find himself and stand out and be cool at school, while getting laid in the process. And Goofy just wants what's best for his son, and his son just did cause some major trouble at school. There's good development for the two in the story, with both coming to understand each other better, finally seeing it eye to eye, and realizing they both love each other. Unfortunately, the film has a typical kids film problem when it comes to poor communication on the part of all the characters, which could have solved a lot of issues if the characters, specifically Max and Goofy, just spelled out why they were doing the things they're doing, but I suppose there'd be no movie if that happened. But those things are what make it any other good parent-kid movie. But there are two things that I believe culturally took this movie to the next level. One is Roxanne. The design and look were great. She may be a dog, but she was hot as f***. And the personality she had was adorable, making for one cute teenage romance between her and Max. Even with relatively minimal screen time when you see how much she's actually in the film, she did leave quite the impression. But the second culturally next level thing about this movie are those songs from Powerline. They are fantastic. Stand Out works great in the cinematic sense for the scene that it's in. However, the movie ends with an absolute banger with the eye-to-eye concert sequence. It's a spectacular song that's got great choreography, energy, and makes great use of all the film's characters, and in a story sense is the culmination of Max and Goofy finally seeing it eye to eye. It's as close to a legendary movie without me actually deeming it as legendary, for some issues like character communication, and not showing how the f*** Max and Goofy escape Bigfoot. So for that, I'm going to go with as high and excellent as you can give.
Excellent.
If you want to hear my extended thoughts on the movie, I actually did a full review for it a few months ago when A Goofy Movie actually did turn 30.
It's hard to be cool when your dad is goofy. A Goofy Movie.
Next is Pocahontas, which debuted a few months later on June 23rd as the 33rd film in the Disney animated canon. following the legacy of many other legendary Disney animated stories, and more importantly, released during the Disney Renaissance. It's based on the real-life historical figure in Pocahontas and tells the story of a Native American princess in the 1600s who encounters and falls in love with a white Englishman named John Smith. I don't think any Disney animated film was in a tougher position than this film was. It came out squarely in the middle of the era that came to be known as the Disney Renaissance, the greatest era in Disney animation. It came out right after I considered to be the Disney Big Four, if you don't count The Rescuers, which Disney had 4 consecutive releases of The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and The Lion King. I mean, holy shit, that's just a legendary lineup of films right there that is unmatched. Pocahontas came out the year after The Lion King, which meant it had quite the newly established legacy to live up to. I think the film is notable for having a more subdued tone compared to the liveliness of other Disney Renaissance films that came before and after it. On the positive side, I think this is appropriate for the movie's nature vibes and what kind of story the film is going for, but unfortunately it doesn't make the film consistently that entertaining. Most of what I consider to be the cute fun for the kids comes from Pocahontas' animal sidekicks in Meeko and Flit, 2 very nice animal companions. Meeko the raccoon is the real scene stealer throughout the film. He's consistently really funny with how he f***s with all the other characters.
Meeko, come back here.
Don't worry, he can't hurt it. Hey!
It's an impressive film in how it visually looks based on the animation and the detail and the backgrounds. The character models are very impressive. They're the most realistic of any of the 90s Disney films, highlighted by Pocahontas herself. Pocahontas, the character, is good enough when it comes to everything not centered around the romance. Her design and voice were amazing. Most of the love for her, though, is rightfully reserved for her 2 songs, Just Around the River Bend and Colors of the Wind. 2 fantastic songs that are beautiful in so many ways for the scenes they're in. Just Around the River Bend is beautiful in expressing Pocahontas' character at the start of the film, and Colors of the Wind for being about the love of nature and being the philosophical turning point for John Smith. These are great songs that are standouts among the largest catalog of top-notch Disney songs. The love story unfortunately ends up being the major downfall of this film, and that is the romance between Pocahontas and John Smith. It's cute when it's the initial friendship between the two and it culminates with the Colors of the Wind song, but the real romance which takes up the second half of this film just doesn't do it for me. It feels forced and unnatural without the charm and chemistry of the iconic Disney 90s romances that preceded or followed it. The sequel makes this development even worse when you see what became of their romance when another white guy gets involved. What a slut. But it's a pretty underwhelming finish to the film in a lot of ways. The romance angle is fairly unsatisfying, but the film just lacks real oomph when it comes to what the final conflict delivers, or in this case, doesn't deliver. A lot of the issue is a fairly boring villain in Governor Radcliffe, to no fault of the voice actor David Ogden Stiers, a Disney voice legend who also voiced Cogsworth, and Jumba Jookiba, the mad scientist who created Stitch.
I prefer to be called evil genius!
And he's given a good performance here, but the writing for the character is just flat, with a boring motivation and a lack of true sinister intentions to get invested in when it comes to the conflict with the protagonist. Actually, that's an issue I noticed during this review, is how he had no interaction with Pocahontas herself. That didn't come until the sequel. The second half of this film doesn't really have a whole lot worthwhile, which was a shame because I really was enjoying a decent amount about the first half. But that second half, the story, songs, and characters all take a nosedive. Despite some real highlights at the first half of the film, it was a movie that was really skating the line between a hell no and a meh. But because of some noteworthy good stuff, I'll be nice and call it meh. Due to this film's controversy in terms of this movie's historical accuracy to the real-life story of Pocahontas, I doubt this movie will ever get the old live-action reimagining treatment, but I'd certainly love to see Disney try, that's for sure. Just for pure media coverage entertainment.
Pocahontas.
And then there was Toy Story, released towards the end of the year, November 22nd. The iconic film that changed forever animated films as it was the first computer-generated one ever produced. It sees cowboy doll Woody's life being turned upside down after the arrival of a new toy in town, Buzz Lightyear. The film is historic for the technical feat it accomplishes. Being the first of its kind is a milestone film achievement on the level of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Terminator 2, and Jurassic Park. The way the CG has aged, though, lends the film to some criticism, as the rendering quality and animation kind of ages out. But I believe the Toy Story characters here still look good in terms of the toys themselves. It was clearly a lot easier to do plastic characters than actual human flesh, but even though it's still clearly 1995 level quality of animation, I believe these toy characters still look good and amazing that it works 30 years later. The human characters are a different story. The level of quality, or lack thereof, is understandable given the time it was released, but the stiffness in the body movements, hair movements, recycled character models, and designs in general don't work in a modern context, but that's part of this movie's nostalgic charm. But because the Toy Story series has been ongoing for decades afterwards, it's really cool to see the improvement in animation quality, as rendering and character models just look stunning by the time you get to Toy Story 4, and they're no doubt going to look even better with Toy Story 5 next year. But the original Toy Story's notoriety isn't just solely based on its technical feat, but for its excellent filmmaking qualities. It's an epic story of friendship between Woody and Buzz, from hostile to ultimate bros.
Look, an alien! Where? Ah!
The character development and voice acting for both protagonists is off the charts good. I like Woody's development the most, going from a somewhat control freak narcissist to a caring team player that just continues to get better as the Toy Story series goes on. Buzz's realization of his true place in the world is both sad and beautiful by the time you get to the end.
Snap out of it, Buzz!
And over the years, the praise for Tom Hanks and Tim Allen should be continued for these roles, as those performances just kind of get lost in the spectacle of the franchise now.
This is the perfect time to panic. I'm lost. Andy is gone, or they're going to move from the house in 2 days, and it's all your fault.
My fault? If you hadn't pushed me out of the window in the first place...
Oh, yeah?
It's also a great cast of colorful supporting characters, literally, with even more colorful, diverse personalities to add to the fun. Sid works great as the film's antagonist. Definitely a punk-ass little kid who got what he deserved at the end. But he's a great contrast with Andy, which makes you like Andy all the more. But my favorite part of the movie is without a doubt the ending truck pursuit through the streets by Woody and Buzz. It's an epic pursuit with many different obstacles, the great culmination of the newly found brotherhood between Woody and Buzz, and that rocket transition into the flying scene combined with that score is a magical moment personified. The ending result is a legendary movie with an unparalleled legacy.
Thank you all.
Toy Story. The fun begins October 29th.
And there you have it, with a Disney 30th anniversary triple feature review released on the 30th birthday of yours truly. It was a video that meant a lot for me to do. 30 is a real milestone birthday where you feel, well, I'm getting old. And that feeling applies to these 3 iconic Disney movies sharing that special milestone. So I hope you enjoyed this 30th anniversary spectacular released on June 30th. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.